Hey guys, I'm Mermaid Elmora, here to talk to you about mermaidy things. Today I'm going to be talking about the process of getting a custom silicone mermaid tail, as I know that was something that I was interested in before I got mine, and now that I've got one, I've got a few tips to make the process easier for you. First of all, what is a silicone mermaid tail? Well, it's named exactly what it is. As opposed to fabric mermaid tails, which are made out of neoprene or scuba knit fabric, silicone mermaid tails are made from medical grade, skin safe silicone. Before we start, I just wanted to mention that silicone mermaid tails are not for beginner mermaids. You should be confident in swimming in a monofin and a fabric tail before getting into a silicone tail. I know it can be tempting because of their realism, but at the end of the day, you're still binding your legs together to swim in a body of water, which can cause a lot of safety issues if you're not properly equipped. If you're starting your mermaiding journey and you're not sure where to start, there are a lot of resources out there. I'll make a video on it eventually in the future, but for now, I'll link a little blog post down below that I've created to help you get started. Once you're confident in swimming in a monofin and in a fabric tail, and you've saved your sand dollars, because yes, silicone tails are expensive. If you thought that fabric tails were expensive, silicone tails are more expensive. There are a lot of reasons for this, but primarily silicone is a really expensive material to work with, and the tail makers need to spend a lot of their time creating your custom piece of art that you can actually swim in. So those are just a couple of reasons why they're priced the way that they are.
Mixing colors for a silicone tail I'm getting ready to paint. Hey look, it's me. This is what it starts off like. Applied some colors and let's go around the table and see just how the colors shift. Now we've got a little more progress. Let's see what it looks like when it's done later.
Personally, I myself didn't get a silicone mermaid tail until 4 years of being in my mermaiding journey, and that's because I was doing a lot of professional mermaid work, so I thought that it would be worth that investment. So just start saving if you're really serious about getting your silicone tail. Hey guys, the layouts are about to change. That's just because I've had to film this a couple of times due to corruption and storage issues, but I still wanted to get this out to you with the best information. So, jumping straight into it, I recommend researching your brands. So there are a number of reasons why I suggest researching the brands before you start doing anything else, but basically the brand that you go with is going to determine the look of your tail. So you're going to want to check for fluke, fin and scale options. You're going to want to look for availability for those slots. You're going to want to look for client satisfaction, previous tails that they've made. So I'll go a little bit more in depth to that right now. You probably have an idea of what you're after in your head, but every brand offers their own fluke design, their own scale pattern, and their own fin options, and the shape of those fin options. There are lots of different flukes you can go with different companies as well, but unfortunately you cannot just pick a fluke from this company, fins from that company, and a scale pattern from that company. So doing your research into what fluke you would like, scale pattern, fins if you want any, just make sure that you find a company that you're really happy with all of those things. So while you're looking at different brands and you're checking out the fluke, scale and fin options, I also highly recommend looking at previous clients' tails that they've made, checking out if you like the design, checking out if you like the kind of spray paint job that they do on it, if you like how the fins look. You can look on Instagram, you can look on Facebook, you can look on YouTube, TikTok, anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just see if you really love that end product. Another thing to keep in mind is budget. So a lot of different brands offer different pricing, and that pricing is also determined on your add-ons. So if you get color shifting coat, that might be more expensive. If you get fins, that will be more expensive. So just keep these things in mind when you're saving for your silicone tail and you're looking at brands to buy from. Have a look at what's available, have a look at what you can afford. If you do choose to go with a tail maker that is international, then that will increase your shipping a little bit, because silicone tails are really heavy for one, so you'll have to pay pretty hefty shipping fee. But not only a shipping fee, you'll also have to pay a customs fee. So because I'm in Australia and Mertailor's in the USA, I had to pay quite a hefty customs fee to get it into Australia, on top of shipping as well. So just keep that in mind if you want to try and keep a tail maker within your country or go from somewhere else. I know it can be hard, especially if you really like a design. So a lot of makers actually release a limited amount of tail slots. This is because silicone tails are quite time consuming to create and quite expensive. They take the tail makers' time away from doing other things that they could be producing, like making fabric tails or doing other things. Basically, when you're looking at a brand, if you're looking at getting a tail soon, I would see how often that brand releases tail slots. I would reach out to a couple of brands, see if they're opening tail slots soon. Some people are really set on a certain brand tail, but they may have to wait years and years before a slot opens. So it's completely your decision, but just keep that in mind. So another thing that you should be looking at when researching your brand is client satisfaction. So looking at the reviews, did they get what they ordered? Are they happy with what they got? Is it sturdy? Is it comfortable? Did they have good communication throughout the process? Did you get progress pictures? These are all things that you're going to want to know when you invest so much money into something that's so personal to you. You're going to want to see how it's going, right? And you're going to want it to be swim worthy. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of scammers who will take your money and give you a really bad tail or won't give you a tail at all. So this is something that's really important to do. Another thing I wanted to mention to you guys that I kind of had to figure out on my own is monofins. So most brands actually use finished monofins in their tails. Some brands are moving away from that, trying other monofins. But I know for me that the finished monofin really hurts my feet, which is another reason I went with Mertailor, because their monofins are pure silicone. And if I'm going to invest all of this money into something that is not only for professional and personal use, but is so important to me and I've put all of this effort into, I want to be able to use it. I don't just want to have it in my bedroom doing nothing and me staring at it longingly wanting to swim in it, you know? I want it to not hurt my feet when I'm swimming in it. So that is a reason that I went with Mertailor. Just make sure you check with what monofin that you've got in your tail before you purchase it. I would also recommend, if you could, to try on that monofin. So I tried on different size finished monofins and decided nah, wasn't for me. I got to try on one of my friend's Mertailor fins and that was perfect. That's what helped me decide to go with Mertailor. So once you've picked your brand, I recommend hopping onto their website or having some kind of email correspondence with them to see what they will need from you when you're ordering a tail. So jumping onto Mertailor's website, I can see that the very first step is picking a fluke. It's important to keep in mind that different flukes do different things, and while you might like the look of one fluke, keep in mind that bigger flukes are going to provide you with more propulsion, however they will be a lot heavier. Smaller flukes, while they may provide you with less propulsion, they'll make the tail lighter overall. When I saw that the Fantasy 5 was being offered for a Spellbound tail, I was super excited and knew I wanted that one. I actually think, I don't know, but I think that my silicone tail might be the very first one with the Fantasy Fin 5, which is a little bit exciting. So it is quite heavy and it has a lot of propulsion, but it really depends what you want in your silicone tail. The next thing you'll need is selecting a base color, tail markings if you want them to be simple or complex, if you want a glitter coat or a color shifting coat, any kinds of fins. So all of these things are important to keep in mind, so you know when you're designing your tail what you're going to want to add to it. What shape fins, what color, if you're having a color shifting coat, what colors they're going to shift between, and that sort of thing. And then at the very bottom you'll be uploading your final design. This is important to know because I did not know that I needed to upload my final design. I thought that I would just order the tail and tell Eric what I wanted. Although it does make a lot of sense now, I wasn't really thinking about it, so it's just important to know that you actually do need to have a design ready to send off. It makes it a lot easier to get something that's more accurate to what you like and for them to have a visual representation of what they should be making. Now that you've got the tail maker you're going to go with, you can go on to designing. Why did designing come after picking a tail maker? Well, as I said before, each brand has their own fluke, fin and scale options, so that is going to be the base of your template. So a lot of websites have templates that you can go on and print out. You can color those in or you can color them in on your phone. If they don't stress, you could probably email them. You can also just scribble it on a piece of paper, do a doodle, just a quick little sketch to get your ideas on some paper. You can also do this on your phone. Another idea is screenshotting some other tail that you've seen that they've made, coloring over it with the colors that you would like. You can use Snapchat, Instagram, any of those apps, or you can just quickly draw one and color it in. I'll insert a little squiggle that I did when I was looking for ideas for my tail, and then I refined my design later. So this is where you need to think about your colors. Are there colors that resonate with you and your Mertailor? Do you want to base it off maybe a fish or a sea creature? Do you want lines? Do you want stripes? Do you want spots? Do you want stars? Do you want those patterns to be blended in with the paint? Do you want them to be sharp, drawn in the paint? When you're looking into things that you would like to include on your tail, it's a really good idea to create a collage or just take some screenshots of things that you like. So whether it be a flower that you see and you really like the color of, or somebody else's tail and you really like the way that a line is blended. Making sure that we're not copying people's tails and that our designs are our own, but just throw together a bunch of pictures so that you can be inspired. So moving into refining our design. If you do choose to go with a graphic designer, that collage is really going to help them bring your design to life. Sending them a collage of things that you've gotten ideas from, inspiration, colors you would like is definitely going to be really helpful for them. Sending them your rough sketch that you've created so they can see roughly where you would want different colors, different patterns, and that kind of thing is going to be really helpful. If you choose to refine your design yourself, it can be a little bit more of a lengthy process if you're not an experienced artist. Like myself, I wasn't experienced in digital art, but I just threw myself into it on my digital Microsoft tablet. And I used IBIS Paint, but I know a lot of people use Procreate and their iPads. So that can be a really good way that you can just experiment with how you want your tail to look, and a really quick and easy way that you can take things off and put things on. So whatever you choose to do, refining your design, this is how we're going to get what you want your tail to look like. And it's okay to go through different ideas. I went through a bunch of different ideas creating my tail. I figured out what would and would not work for me. The next step is to measure yourself. Now I say measure yourself, but I do not mean measure yourself. You need to get somebody else to measure you. I had a couple friends measure me. I also went to a tailor to measure me. It's really important that you get these measurements right. If you're saving these measurements for a little while and then a slot opens, I also recommend getting your measurements retaken. Now, you cannot measure yourself because when you're bending over or going around your waist or around your hips, whatever you're doing, when you're standing up straight or bending over, your measurements are actually going to change. So you want an accurate representation of what your body looks like, of what your lower half of your body looks like when you're just standing straight, so that the tail can slip on and fit you comfortably. So if I jump on the Mertailor website and we have a look, you're going to be measuring width and length. So around your waist, around your hips, around your butt, around your mid-thighs, around your knees, around your calves, around your ankles, and then you're going to be doing your length. So like I said before, I had a couple people measure me and I had a tailor measure me. I actually just ended up averaging all of these measurements out. I was really paranoid about this step, so make sure that you feel confident in your measurements before you send them off. The first thing that you're going to want to measure is the width. I recommend when you're taking these measurements that wherever you draw that measurement, wherever you put the measuring tape, you draw a little line. And so if you're going around your waist, draw a line of where your waist is, because you're going to need to know where you measured from when you're doing your length measurements. Another thing I wanted to mention here was that your waist measurement does not actually have to be your waist. So it's recommended that your waist is around your belly button area, but if you want your tail to be a little bit higher than that, you measure from that area and make that your waist, as long as the measurements from your waist is consistent while you're measuring your length measurements as well. So waist to hip bone. This is why it's important to know where you measured your waist to be, because you're going to need to measure from exactly where you measured to your hip exactly where you measured. Your waist to buttocks where you've measured, waist to mid-thigh, waist to knees, waist to calves, waist to ankle bone, waist to floor. So wherever you measure your waist to be from, it's really important that you keep those length measurements from your waist so that your width matches your height. So those are all the things that you're going to need to measure so that your tail maker can create the tail custom to your body and so it fits comfortably. So once you've saved your $10, chosen your brand, created your design, and got your measurements, you're ready to place your order. Usually when you place your order, you'll receive a certain time frame for how long that tail is going to take to make. Normally this is 6 to 12 months, but it can take longer. If you're at any point nervous for what's going on with your tail, feel free to email your maker Obviously, don't spam them, but it is okay to ask questions for how things are going and to ask for progress pictures. Remember that you invested a lot of money into this, and it's normal to want to see how it's going. Also, if you see progress pictures, you're able to say things that you like and don't like, and if you want any alterations made. In my experience, Mertailor was really patient with me and provided me with a lot of updates and progress pictures. Here are some of my progress pictures that I received along the way. After you receive your tail, I recommend opening and trying it on camera. That way, if anything goes wrong, you can show that that's how you received it. Otherwise, it's a really special moment to document and look back on later. I'll link my unboxing in the description box down below. Once you've tried it on and made sure everything fits you properly, I recommend taking it for its first swim in a swimming pool. If you don't have a swimming pool, that's okay. Any other shallow body of water is great. That's just because silicone mermaid tails, like I said before, are a lot heavier than fabric tails, so you want to get used to swimming with this new weight around you. And you want to practice kicking it off in case you ever need to, and if you do kick it off, you want to make sure that you don't lose it forever. You're in a swimming pool, you can just go get it in a little bit. So congratulations if you've made it this far. Those are my tips and some of the things that I went through to get my custom mermaid tail, and some of the things that you'll need to do to get to yours. So I hope that this has been helpful and you feel a little bit more prepared when ordering your tail. If you stayed until the end, thank you so much. Consider subscribing or leaving a like down below, and I'll see you next time.